Hi guys, I'm Anita and I'm back with another video. Today I wanted to share with you a weekend reads, recent reads video type of thing, where I talk about the 6 books that I have finished recently since my last video, and talk a little bit about my plans for this upcoming weekend and into next week, what I'm planning on reading. So yeah, I have 6 books to talk about that I finished since my last update. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty decent. The first thing that I finished was To Sir Philip with Love by Julia Quinn. This is the 5th book in the Bridgerton series. This series is a historical romance set in Regency London, mostly. It follows the Bridgerton family, who is a very famous high rank sort of family that has a lot of kids, and so it follows each of those respective kids as they find their true match, whatever. And in this one we follow one of the girls who is sort of considered to become a spinster type of person, and after her friend marries her brother in a previous book, she felt like she was going to be alone. She was going to be having a hard time because she was not going to be because she felt like she was never going to find a suitable husband for herself. That she strikes up a sort of connection with a lord who lives in who is a gardener as well. Yeah, he lives in the outskirts of things, and she upon accident starts writing letters to him after she sends him her regards when her wife passes away, and they start talking back and forth, writing letters to each other. And at one point she decides, now when he asks if she wants to consider him for a suitable match, she decides to try and visit him to see if that will work. And yeah, I overall enjoyed it. It's like, these books are so easy to read, they're so light and in ways very fluffy and sort of a book that was a good thing to read right now when you're in this type of situation. But it's, I don't know, I didn't love this one as much as some of the previous books, but it was definitely good enough. I enjoyed it for what it was. I got through it pretty quickly. It was a nice thing to listen to as I was working, which seems to be the best way that I can sort of zone out of the reality that we're in, is when I work. I can prop on an audio and sit and work and focus on that, and that seems to be when I feel the best these days, which is sad. I don't tend to pick up books a lot in the day-to-day time after work, which is a little bit sad, but I do read a little bit in the morning when I work at home because I have a little extra time, so that's fine as well. But I ended up giving this specific book 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it overall, and I'm excited to see where the series will go. Yeah, and I definitely recommend it if you enjoy sort of lighter historical romance that has a little bit of a humor. The next thing that I finished, oof, my hair. The next thing that I finished was Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. This is the first time I read any Bradbury at all. It's the first time book I picked up for my classics project, and it is a modern classic published back in the 50s. It is just a book about these boys on their summer vacation and what they get up to, and it's sort of a year where I thought it was going to be a little lighter, but it was actually really deep, and it really was an emotional ride as well. In the beginning, the way that it was told, I thought it was just going to be a comfortable sweet kind of book, but then it turned deeper and deeper and deeper the further you got into it. Not that it made the book worse or anything, but I definitely wasn't expecting that. It basically follows these two boys who are brothers. And one of them is called Douglas, the other one is called Tom, and Douglas is a little older than Tom, and he it's just their experience over the summer holidays. They experience, but it's the first time they come to terms with the fact that people are dying. So in that way, it was a really emotional and deep sort of message that this book had in the end. I really enjoyed the writing style. I really enjoyed how the way that he wrote it, it fit very well with the protagonist, and the way that it seemed innocent enough, but the struggles they went through when they started to realize how the world worked was definitely interesting, and I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's for everyone, because I see that people think that his writing is very about how he just keeps going on and on and on and on writing and not really getting anywhere plot-wise. And I guess I can see where that comes from. But I personally really enjoyed it. It was something that just really worked with me. The writing really clicked. And the only reason it took me a little bit longer to finish it was actually because of how emotionally impactful it was. And considering how I was already feeling, I had to take it in smaller chunks when it came to that. So, but I did really enjoy it, and it's the first genuine 5-star read that I read this year, and I really look forward to reading more Ray Bradbury in the future. I have a feeling that I'm really going to enjoy a lot of his books, and it was a good starting place, I think, for his works. Next book I will pick up is probably Something Wicked This Way Comes, but I do also have Fahrenheit 451 that I have in my intentions of reading, but that one I feel like is a lot different than this one. Another book that I finished was The Fallen Angel, or The Fallen Engel, by Kenneth Bjarnason. This is the 5th book in the Great Devil War series, and this has just been published in English. Actually, it's just been translated published this month, and this has been my least favorite in the series, because I feel like it's a lot shorter than the previous books have been. The usual norm for these is like they're closer between a 300 to 400 page book, and so they have a little more time to develop the plot and actually put a little more depth into them. This one is slightly less than 300, just under 300 pages. It was really good. It's not that I didn't enjoy it at all. I think that he always manages to weave a good story, even if it feels like this would have been better had it been just a 5-book series and they had combined the last 2 books in one. I can't say that that's the case because I haven't read the last book yet, but I feel like maybe it would have been better that he had combined the 2 books by the end, because I think it was because at first it was supposed to be a 3-book long series, but then publishers wanted more of it, so they wanted 3 more books, and maybe it would have been benefited better if it was just the 2 more books. But I still enjoyed it a lot, and I still think that it was well written. There was some revelations that did happen and some things we found out about, but it was a thinner plot than the previous books, and because of that it lowered the rating slightly. But I ended up giving it 4.5 stars because the last bit, like the last possibly 50 or so, 60 pages, was so good, and then it ended, like literally ended really abruptly on purpose, I guess, and I'm so pissed because I can't get to the library and get the last book in the foreseeable future, because who knows when the library is actually opening again. And it basically ends up with this. I'm not going to mention what the conversation was before, but in the same moment there was a sound. They were staring into the surrounding darkness. It was impossible to say where the noise was coming from, but it was louder, went louder and louder. A creak, some steps. There was someone who was nearing them. To be continued. Like, that is how it ended, like someone creeping up on them, and then no one knows who that is, except we possibly have a guess at who it is. But now I have to wait how long? Maybe a month before I can get to the last one, and I'm a little annoyed. I would really have loved to actually just go through to the next one. So yeah, but I did enjoy it, and I give it a 4.5 stars. So definitely recommend this series, and I hope that some of my followers will actually eventually pick up this series and read it so that I can talk to them about it, because I feel like it would be something that people would really enjoy, and I would be so happy if I was to push this series onto other people, because I genuinely love it so much, and I think that he deserves to be acknowledged internationally as well as in Denmark. So I would really love that for that to happen. The next book that I read was Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine. This is the first book in a series called The Taichkalain. I don't know how to pronounce it. It is set in a different planet, I think. Where the norm is almost queer, where it's not the norm to be straight or whatever, and so the cast is really queer, and I like it in that way, and it has really good female romance as well, and there's a lot of like intrigue, like political intrigue between the different realms, like the people in power and stuff. I really enjoyed how the language was played into this as well. I think that part of it really was done well. I mean, I know there are a lot of things that I didn't grasp from this book, and I would have probably better be able to comprehend it had I read it in the physical form rather than listen to the audiobook. But all of the talk about the languages and how excited they were about reading books in another language, because there was something that intrigued them so much, was just so interesting. They were so into a specific another country's literature that they were better at comprehending that language than their own and explaining things in that language. And that was so weird and funny at the same time. So it's difficult to explain the plot of this completely, but I just really enjoyed it, and I give it 4 to 5 stars because I know there are things that I didn't get, and so I don't know, but I'm definitely intrigued, and I will get a copy at some point for myself so I can read it and then get to the next one in a physical copy so I can fully invest myself into the next book. I know that the next book is coming out right now, like really soon or something, or maybe it's coming out next year. Was it just postponed? I'm not sure. But I'm definitely excited to check out more. I definitely enjoy this, and it's one of my favorite BookTube SFF reads so far this year. So that was that one. The next book that I finished was Recursion by Blake Crouch, another BookTube SFF book. This one is also nominated in the science fiction category, and while I enjoyed the other one, this one I did not. And I probably have been a little bit rough with my rating, but I have decided this year that I need to be a little bit more critical when I do my ratings. But this one I gave 2. One of my reasons why I gave this 2 stars is that it never really captured my attention. I wasn't into this one at all. I didn't really care about what was going on. I wasn't at all immersed in the story. That was one thing. The other one was that one of the reasons why I probably wasn't into it is that it was so similar to Dark Matter. So similar that I felt like I was reading the exact same book, with a few differences in the terms of how the science fiction element works, or like that part of it, but the thriller aspect, the way it was constructed, everything was the same almost. It was as if it was the book version of Coldplay's own Coldplay's own songs, like Speed of Sound and Clocks, how similar they are. And I felt like it was so weird. I don't think I can justify giving this a high rating, because I don't think the author, I think it was like a lazy thing to do, to write a book that was so similar to a previous work just because it was so popular. I would have much preferred it if it had been something different. I do acknowledge that sometimes people who enjoy a certain type of vibe in a book, that's fair that the author chooses the same thing, but when it's so close to being the same thing, I don't understand it. So I don't understand those who've read both, how they can rate both extremely high, because I think either one of them is going to be not suitable or something, or I felt completely cheated with the plot of this one. So that's why I give it a 2 out of 5 stars. I see that why some would enjoy it if they haven't read the other book and read this one. For sure, maybe if it's the thing, it's a thrill, it's a thriller, sci-fi thriller, so it's like fast-paced and it moves along quickly and a lot of things are going on. But otherwise, I don't think. I mean, I see people who've read both rating it really highly, but I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I also think that in terms of plot and the way it was handled, I think that Dark Matter was better written, although the reveal by the end, or the resolution by the end, was better in Recursion than it was at Dark Matter. Dark Matter had a bad ending, very convenient, and yeah. So yeah, that's why I ended on 2 stars. It was a little bit annoying, but I'm happy that at least one of my science fiction books I actually genuinely enjoyed, so now I can put a really good vote in both in the debut category and the science fiction category. So I'm happy and excited about that. The last and final thing that I finished this past recently, I actually just finished it an hour ago or less, is The Shape Changers by Jennifer Robinson. This is an omnibus of the first 2 books. So The Song of Humana, which is the second book in this series, starts now. This book or series is set in a fantastical world where these 2 people clans have, for a long time, they were working together. They were one unit. They were fighting for the same thing, but then something happened that split the 2 worlds apart. So the Humanan is the group, the clans or world. I don't know what you call it, but the Shesuli, who are sort of magical beings that are able to shapeshift into different animals. Some mostly wolf, but some can also shift into like birds or stuff like that. They are known as the, is it called Mihars? No, Muihara. Is that the clan that they are part of? And then there's the Humana clan. That is the other one, and they've been split apart, and they've terrorized, like the Humana have been putting a lot of hate against the Shesuli for being beasts, for being dangerous people and all of that. But what happens is that our main character, Alex, is a Humana princess, and she ends up being part of the Shesuli clan when she and that starts this whole journey of them trying to work again together for a bigger purpose, because there's a war going on between some other areas. And it was really interesting. I struggled some places, but I overall really genuinely enjoyed the writing style and how the plot was set up. And I do see that it has some flaws in terms of the time when it was written. It was published in 83, I think. First published copyright 1984, so possibly it was published in 1984, and that was definitely a long time ago, and a lot of things, like our way of viewing things, have changed. But I think those sort of misogynist type of things that were happening, like the part, was definitely written in a way that it's not the author's intention that people should be treated like this. And the way that she wrote her main character was that in the beginning she might have been a little annoyed with her power, but she definitely decided to choose them and use them for the right benefits, and she stood up for herself constantly when she was mistreated or told to do something she didn't want to. So I definitely think that this improved over the book in terms of the way it was treated. But I will say that I don't think this book is for everyone, because when I see people's rating on Goodreads, they definitely vary a lot. There's a lot of people who give it 1 or 2 stars, but then there's also those who really genuinely love it, and one of those people is Shannon from Shannon Riddler's, who just started doing booktube videos again. I'm so happy, and she recommended this highly, and that is actually why I picked it up. And I definitely see why she enjoys it so much, and I am looking forward to see how this will continue in the future. I have really high hopes for this, also because of the magical part of it. The world was really intriguing, and our main character definitely changed a lot over the book, and I can see how it would be a nice thing to explore in the future. And I give it 4 out of 5 stars, I think, overall. So I'm looking forward to continuing and seeing what this author can do with future books. So that is the last thing that I've finished over the past week and a half-ish since I did my last video. Now let's talk a little bit about the things that I'm planning on reading. The first thing that I need to finish, that first thing is one I'm working on right now, and that is Murder on Sisters Row by Victoria Thompson. I am just about halfway, 2 hours into it. 2 hours into the book, which is about halfway through, and I'm really enjoying it. It is, as usual, very much my sort of book. It follows, it's a mystery set in the 1800s, late 1800s New York, and it follows our midwife, our Sarah Brand, who is a midwife and also a widower. She goes to help delivering a baby, not knowing what she's going into, and it turns out that the place that this woman is pregnant is a brothel. So she definitely comes to this place, and then the person who is pregnant wants to leave this place, and she wants to help her escape because she understands that she didn't want to, but maybe there's more to it. Maybe she's not exactly how it is. And yeah, it takes Sarah into a murder mystery suddenly. And yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. It's definitely funny, and it's definitely enjoyable, and as usual, I'm really enjoying it. Some other things I want to work on this weekend, considering now I finished this first book for the Classic SFF, like The Shape Changers was the first book I read for that, or decided to finish for that. I am taking a break from reading those and focusing on reading my 3 very shortest books on my TBR for the month. The first one is The Test by Sylvain Neuvel, which is only an hour long. So tomorrow, which is Sunday, I will be focusing on these 3 books. The next one is Rebel Heart, which is another book that is only about 1 hour and 40 minutes long. So I'll listen to that as well in the full time. And finally, I will try and finish A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare, which is another book that is also around a couple of hours. I'm really looking forward to this, but I will listen to a full cast sort of audio as I read through this and see how it goes. So that way I will probably get through 3 books in one day, and that will definitely make me feel like I'm accomplishing something, and that will be very beneficial considering I have 19 books on my TBR. I have currently finished 2 of them in 4 days, but I would like to be even further, so that would be nice. The next book that I would like to finish reading is Carpe Jovium by Terry Pratchett. These books are something I would like to follow along in, so I always listen to them at home. So it would be a good book to have over the next coming days when I'm home a lot. I have to work Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, so it would, but otherwise Easter is coming up and I'll have a lot of time at home listening to this. So definitely a book that is on my to pick up next type of book. I don't know if I'm going to be picking up, I might try and finish a book that I didn't finish from my March TBR, which was the Silvia Moreno Garcia book, Gods of Jade and Shadow. I am about less than 100 pages from the end, so I'd like to try and make a lot of progress and maybe finish that over the weekend. I genuinely love this book so much right now. I think it's so interesting and the magic is something I really jam with. So, and the mythology part of it is so interesting, and I'm really looking forward to finishing it and feel like I'll give it a pretty high rating so far, which is why I would like to finish it while I still am in this I really love it kind of way. So definitely think that I have a good selection of books on my TBR, on my radar right now. Let me know in the comments down below what you've been reading recently. Have you read any of the books that I've been talking about today? What was your thoughts on them? Do you agree with my thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below also if what you're planning on reading over the next coming days when you're in quarantine, and how are you faring in this time. I still think it's difficult to pick up my books. So I hope that will change soon. I would definitely really like to make a good dent in my TBR so I can be ahead of things when things get more or less more back to normal. Who knows how long we're going to be staying in this situation at this point. Our Prime Minister have sort of talked about the fact that she might be willing to open up things slowly after Easter, but it depends on how things goes over Easter, and she doesn't know exactly how she's opening up, what she starts out with. I still think that definitely for the rest of this month I probably should expect to work from home the remainder as much as I can, because I still think we're supposed to keep as much distance to each other as we can. But the thing that is good about the Danish situation right now is that the curve is slowly declining again, which is I'm happy to see. And I think that's why she can see that she can relatively do it, but the scary part is, what if she does it too soon, or what if we do the wrong thing and we'll give another splurge of admittances to the health, like to the hospitals and stuff. I'm worried about that a lot, and how this could end up worsening the situation and prolonging the situation. So I don't know how to deal with it and what to think of it, but I have so much faith in the government right now because of how they've handled the situation until now. I think that they have done impeccably, and I'm happy to live where I do because of how I've seen the situation change in other countries, also our neighbor countries. So yeah, I'm worried, but yeah, this was what I had for you today. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Goodbye!